So if we go into, so I'm back into RoboMongo. And by the way, you guys should download RoboMongo I think it has Windows as well as Mac versions. It's very handy. I click on test data, this collection, and I double click on it, and there's exactly 2 records, which is what I expected. And oddly enough, and I would never see this in a relational database, right? One record has 2 fields, the other record has 3 fields. That's very, very strange. And if I look inside, I see here this one has name Mongo, and this one has name Peter Sal's address. Okay, so they're different. Right off the bat, something weird's going on. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to Ruby just because it'll be faster to illustrate. So I'm going to go now to demo1.ruby. Oh, God. Color scheme. That's better. Okay. So let me just walk you through this. Now, if you don't have Ruby, you can be doing this. It's probably look very, very similar in Java or Python. If you have Ruby, you're welcome to download the program, or just, it'd be great if you'd be following along because it's much more fun. But basically, this is a gem called Mongo. And I basically, again, create a Mongo client, and I ask it what database names it knows about, and if I tell it to, I think it's how I do it. I don't know if you can read this, but after every line, there's a pound sign, and then the value that line produced. So database names produce contacts, local, movies, those are the tables that are in there, right? And if I make them go away again, then I say, okay, I'm going to add a database called table. So I'm using MC, which is the Mongo client, people. And I add a collection. So the hierarchy is Mongo server has 1 or more databases. Databases probably correspond to 1 application. And then each database has 1 or more collections. Now, the funny thing is, of course, that a collection, as I said, can have records, documents, which look totally different from each other. So there's an interesting design question as to whether you start a new collection if you have a new kind of record or not. And that's a more advanced topic that I'm not going to touch on right now. But that would be a question. I mean, I would start with just 1 collection and see what fails. So you notice here that there's 2 different ways of requesting a collection. So that's database, which is the variable I assigned up here. Database.collection with quotes, or database collection equals database bracket contact info. In any event, collection COL gets a value corresponding to the collection called contact info. So if I run this and show you the output, just focusing on this line, here's the collection, and it's called contact info. Okay, make that go away so you can see it. Next, what I do is I define a variable in Ruby called product, which actually is just a string. So I just say, this is a piece of text. It's just a notation in Ruby to allow you to have a string on multiple lines. And then I ask it to parse that string into JSON. See this line? And then finally, I'd never defined a schema, as I said before. And I just insert that product into this database, into this collection called call. So let me run it again to show you. Oh, sorry. So focusing on this line here, here's that string that was created. Here it gets parsed into a clean JSON string here. If you can see my mouse. And then I go doc, which is a variable I'm assigning it to, call, which is this collection, dot insert, paren product. That's this variable. And boom, it inserted in the database. And then if I ask the database what collection names it knows about, it says I know about system indexes, which is built in, and contact info. And finally, I'm going to say, just for fun, I'm going to go up 100 times, insert a column, or rather insert a document in the collection COL that has just 1 name value pair, I, variable I equals value I. Okay? Now, funnily enough, obviously, this schema of this line, I equals I, is totally different from the schema of this line, and yet they're going into the same collection. So if we go back here, and we look at contacts, I think is where I was just playing. And here are the ones that I just added. Oh no, sorry, I'm jumping the gun. Don't look at that. Ah. Let me just, let's see, what is this thing called? It's called database is called people. No, here it is. Collections, contact info. There it is. So the first one I added by hand was this one, name, type, count. And then all the other ones were just I equals 0, I equals 1. Okay? Who's trying to do it along with me? Anybody? Or okay? Anybody else? You guys trying to keep up? Oh, okay. You can. How about you? You trying to keep up?
My version didn't work, so I just upgraded it.
Okay.
So
What do you program in? Python, Java?
Java.
Why don't you look while I'm talking? Do some googling for the Java MongoDB library. I bet there is one.
Oh yeah, I've used it. The JSON library is also pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, but then you have to have the MongoDB interface, so you can try to reproduce this in Java. Okay, so that's the first example. Very, very simple. Okay. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's always part of a collection. But I'm not positive. I've never tried that. Every example I've seen and used has been with a collection. Okay, now let's go to something a little bit different. I'm going to show you something fun. I'm going to show you some things that you will see that are nothing to do with Mongo, but you'll find amusing. So I added this new library called Faker, and every language has a library called Faker. Who's ever heard of Faker? Faker is a library that does this thing that you always need to do, which is come up with fake names and fake addresses, so you don't have to make them up yourself. Okay? So I'm doing the same thing again. I created a new client, called it MC for Mongo Client. I access the database within that called contacts. Pardon?
I'm asking myself, like, things you teach that in the software engineering class that we had.
I gotta make other things interesting to save for other times. Okay, and then I go 100 times do. Now check what I'm doing here. First of all, call is now the collection. 100 times I'm going to say contact is an empty hash. And then I'm going to give one variable called name, and I'm going to call faker name.name. Contact email, faker internet email. Let me just illustrate this because it's kind of fun. If I go pry, and I say require faker, and I go faker name.name. Okay, let me just do this stupid thing here. See, different names. If I go, oh, cool, internet, email, and let me just show you all the options. You can spend all day playing with this. Ruby, Faker, gem. No, not this one. This one. Let's see what other goodies there are. Okay, so how about, there's some funny ones, like, okay, Faker time zone, internet address, colon, state, abbreviation, state Faker address. What did I do wrong here, guys? Dot. And then, again, random. But then here, how about Bitcoin? I don't know what the heck that is. Bitcoin dot address. And businesses, how about a business, huh? Let's see, commerce, company, that's a fun one. Faker, company dot name. And internet email, usernames, domains, v6s, and then lorem, just text.
That's what I asked for.
What?
That's why I asked, like, when did you show that, and, like, when you were creating all of these? Because, like, Steven spent, I don't know how many days.
Phone number. Okay, so that's Faker. So going back to here, so what I'm doing is I'm calling 100 times, getting a name and an internet email, and then I'm going to do 100 records just to illustrate again the dynamic nature of this. where I have a name, an email, and then I have an array. Home address, not an array, but multiple. Home address is this, office address is this, and so on. And I do that 100 times. So if I run this program, that work? Didn't work. Why did I not like it? Liked it before. That's what I always say. Oh, what happened to Faker here? Faker. Hey. What? Mongo. What's wrong with me here? Line 45. What? Pardon me? Well, in doubt, exit. Mongo demo, bundle, Ruby demo 2. That seems to work okay. So now if we go look at our files here, now what did I just create? I created demo 2. I created contact info. So go in here and find, and the database is called contacts. So here's contacts, there's contact info, and there are the ones that just have those things, and then I add 100. So if I cycle over here to this one, and I open this one, these have home address and office address. Okay?
Japan.
Yeah. So those are the building blocks. I mean, it's that easy to do. Okay. So it's something you can use in your project tomorrow, whether it's Python or Java. There's no difference. I mean, the lines are probably going to be very, very similar. Okay. You got to remember to run the server, obviously, unlike a built-in database. And in fact, if you're a Rails programmer, there are mappers that allow you to use MongoDB just like you use Active Record. The reason yes? Okay, so let's do some querying. So but let me just finish that thought. So the reason I discouraged you guys strongly from doing this is because it's much easier in a 5-line demo than it is to build a product. The more raw, and these things are fairly new, the technology is that you use, the more likely you're going to be caught in some ridiculous spiral of death getting something to work that just doesn't want to work. And so for the purposes of doing a class exercise, I try to keep people just on the center of the road, just to avoid kind of waste of time types of activity. So let's take a look at querying. Let's take a look at querying. So I want to call up my crib sheet here, and I'm going to find this here, which had some really good stuff in it. Mongo, where is it? Mongo, MongoDB gem. It's not here. Is it? No, this is my file, right? Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. Oh yeah, Ruby MongoDB tutorial. Thank you. There we go. All right. So let's do some queries. So let's go over here. We can actually use this tool here. I just discovered this tool like today. So, but let's just play with it. You guys call it up too. So specific query. So see up here it says contact info find. So I should be able to say, according to this thing, quote, email, because, well, maybe it's not quote. Let's say quote, email. What would it be? It's not Ruby. So, well, in doubt, look at help. See if there's any help in here of any kind. Custom mode, view mode. Okay, we can just go to code. Let's go to Ruby instead. That's safer. So I'm going to go back to this. Nope. I'm going to go back to this. And at the end of this, actually, let's just make a new file. So I'm not going to use it. I'm going to take this. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to make demo3, not there, here, new file, save, demo3.rb, oh, demo4.rb. I'm going to paste this just because I'm lazy, but I'm going to delete most of it. I need that, I need this, and then I stop. Get rid of all this stuff. And I'm going to say here, since the collection is called that, I'm going to say collection.find, and I'm going to put here, referring back to this, name. Oh God, I got to come up with a real name though, otherwise the query is not going to work. Casimir, email Casimir. Let's do this one. Can I copy that? Yes. So now I should be able to go to demo4, find, oops, email, dot 2a, and if I run it, see what happens. So I found it. There it is, as an array. Name. Now you notice this, in case anybody caught all these names being faker, that's because the first time through I had that quoted by mistake. But there's the email. And the interesting thing is if I put here, if I get rid of this, and instead I put dot count to see how many matches there are, I find, oh, that's so funny, isn't it? It worked a second ago. Okay. Oh, I think I know the problem. Okay, got it. I understand the problem. Dot count. And there's only one. Okay? So if I put name, let me look at my data again, because it goes way down to many more records. No, I guess I had the bad data for a long time. I guess this thing is pretty good also at creating unique stuff, unique names, because it's not finding the same name twice. So anyway, so that's the basic thing, is just a selection. Now the question is, what can you do with what you get? The thing you get back, let's find out what it is. Sub 0 to get the first array element dot class. Oops, go away. And it is a, oops, what's my error? To array, yes, that looks correct. This end, is this end supposed to be here? Okay, it's a BSON, which stands for MongoDB SON. So actually, what it really is B stands for binary. It's a binary version of JSON, because their idea was that if JSON is a lot of text, we don't want to store all this text in the database, we convert it to binary. But to your normal, you know, if you don't dive into it too much, they make it look just like it's JSON. So I bet I can, for example, say, oops. Let's see, I could probably say, let me just see. First I'm going to do this. So there's the value that came back. And I bet I can just put a name like this. Oops. Put name. Oops. And run it. And it's going to do that. Email. So let me just interpret this line for you. This line here. Can you see it? I'm highlighting it. Can you see it now? The one where my mouse is. It says, in the collection that I've assigned to COL, find any document that has a key email with this value, convert the result set, because it could be more than one match, to an array, take the first element of that, and, excuse me, it's half a second. Oh, no problem. Take the first element of that and index using the bracket notation, which is just the shorthand for because it's returning one document. Find me the value for email there. That's what that does. So let's look at just some of the other things. I mean, you got the complete set. find. You got sorting, column.find.sort. So so basically that would be sort by I. So if I, for example, do this, I'm just going to try this. So I'm going to do the same find, but I'm not going to put anything. I'm going to find all of them. Dot sort. And I'm going to do colon email ascending. I think that's what it said. Colon ascending. Or descending. So, of course, there's too many of them. So let me just see what happens. Okay, so you can't tell because it sorted it. But anyway, this is a sort. So if I now, oh, I know what I can do. Sorted set is that. And now I can say put s sorted set sub 0 bracket email the first three. If this worked, these emails should start with letters that are near the end of the alphabet. And what happened? And where's the put s? The put s should have happened. Oh, name errors. Dot sort did not work. Okay, why did you not work? Let's try this without the find. I thought that was suspicious. Nope. Call, it is call, sorted set, yes. Okay, let's see here. Call that find that sort, either take a key or an array. Yeah, maybe I need a all or something like that. Let's go back to the sort I had, the select I had before. So it was, how do I do a find all in Ruby, Mongo, find all? Yeah, but why is it failing then? Yes, that's a great idea. So I'm going to take this out. Dot find. And oh, this is the problem. That word, that was my problem. Not you guys. Just keep me out of trouble. That's the problem. Pardon? I do. Thank you. Now, it doesn't like that. Okay. Let's do it like this then. Forget that for a second. We'll get to that detail later. And interesting. Okay. It does not think it's an array. Dot class to find out what it really is. And it's nothing. Oh, fascinating. Email, yeah, this is sort email. Okay, the notation was what? I'm not sure about anything. Ruby find sort. Well, let's just do it by itself. It's email, right? That's what I have up here. Let me look in here. And it is email, yes. Maybe this is the problem. It's not email. Well, let's leave this off. Oh, no, actually keep it like this. See, that works? Nope. So let's put a quote in here instead. Oh, God. Nope, no better. Who can figure it out? This is a hackathon. Colon I, yes. Colon I, yes. Mongo ascending, ASC, whatever. Okay, let's try count just for fun, see how that works. Comment this out. Puts sorted set dot count. See what this is going to be 0. Oh God. Sorted set dot count. I think that's going to be nil because this didn't work. So if I just do call dot find by itself, which you guys thought would be all, still nil. Fascinating, isn't it? Okay, fine. I'm not discouraged. I'm going to say, I'm going to try this dot count here. Did you get something to work? 400. So there's 400 in there. That's very good. But look at this interesting thing. Call.find. Maybe my problem is that I'm using a string. So let me go to other table which have numbers in it. It'll be easier to query. So this one, I'm going to start with an easier case. I'm going to go back to, not this one, but test data? No, not test data. Contact info. Yes. So it's in the database called people and the collection called contact info. Got it? Database people and contact info. Same database name. Yes, yes. Now I run this. Oh, not this one. Oh my God, I messed up my whole thing. No, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do this one. People, contact info. 2800. I must have run this demo many times. Okay, so now these have numbers in them. So that should be easy, right? So let's do find. Start with this. Dot sort. Dot sort I, just like that. Colon I. And make it descending. That work okay? Yes. And then, if this worked, I should be able to say sorted set sub 0. See you later. Dot put as this. I just do it like this. It's descending. It does not like that. Interesting.
Like the tutorial says it's I hash sign.
Like this. I colon. Well, let me just start with the easy case. Nope, doesn't like it. Anyway, let's not worry about that. Let's just go, instead of doing that, let's review the other cases. So here's a little bit more complicated. And notice the interesting thing is that the parameter to find is itself a lot like JSON. So it says I, and then the key is $50. Or here's something more complicated. I, 20 as well as 30. Assume this is an AND. Or you can go further and you can say, instead of returning the whole document, I just want to pull out the fields out of the results, name and type.
You see that it has 2A at the end of each thing?
Oh, you're right. I've been forgetting the 2A. You're right. I think you're right. So I should say sorted set 2A bracket 0. And now, colon I. Nil. Interesting. Okay, but that's all right. Okay, and if I make it ascending, you sucked me back in. No, I wasn't going to do that. Go back in here. So then we have, of course, the usual update, deleting. Now, I want to skip to something that nobody's mentioned, but what about joins? I mean, how do you refer between one document and another? And I don't know the exact answer, but that's one thing that they all need to have. Because in the end, if I have, for example, a little document which corresponds to a country, and I have the country name, the country country code, the country phone number, long distance code, whatever, a few things, and I want every single person in my 100 million record document set to have a country, I'm not going to want to put it in each one. So I'm sure there is a way to do join-like things with MongoDB. But the design sense is that when you get to the point, if you're using MongoDB where you need those, you should start wondering whether you actually should be in a relational database. Now let me show you the last example. Huh? Yeah. Let me show you the last example I cooked up just for fun. The last example was demo 3. And basically what I did was I took that famous movies data set and I loaded it up into a MongoDB database with just a few lines of Ruby. So I create the database, I create the collection, and then I just read, and for each line in the file, in the CSV file, I convert it to hash and put it into doc. So the file I'm talking about is u.item, which looks like this. And in particular, the first row is the column header. So that is before the vertical bar, it's the movie ID, movie title. So that's movie ID, movie title, and so on. And I parse it, and I load it into my MongoDB file. And basically, it would be an interesting, where's demo 3? It would be an interesting exercise to run the famous movie homework using this instead of a relational database to see the difference. But anyway, once you load it up, you get it, and it works like a charm, and it runs very, very fast. So if I go here, and I go to movies, and I go to collections, I have movie info, and there are all my movies. And if I click a random one, I see Get Shorty and all its information.
So you loaded it in just by setting the vertical tab to be the delimiter?
Well, I did, yeah, a couple of things. So basically, if you look at the Ruby that goes with that, I told it a vertical tab is a delimiter. I told it to use the headers. And the effect of that is that the result, you can just convert it to a hash. And then you can simply insert it into Ruby, into MongoDB. I mean, it's just a few lines of code. It's really, really easy. And if you think about it, the beauty here is I haven't done any schema definition. I haven't done any migrations. If tomorrow I have a new field in my document, which I didn't have yesterday, it doesn't matter. So there's a degree of malleability and flexibility that you just don't get in relational database.
It's a different philosophy because in the SQL table, if you had like an extra field, you could just have it, like you would add another table that just, instead of adding that field to an existing table, you can add another table that just defines for these attributes, or for these attributes, attach this external field, and then you do a join in the original one if you wanted to add that.
Right, but if you think about it, that's a lot of code, a lot of testing, and so on. So, I mean, it's done all the time. I mean, this notion of database migrations. I mean, if you're running a service, if you're running Facebook, you can be sure that they have an army of people dedicated to managing the schemas. If somebody tomorrow says, in addition to the email address, I also want to keep track of somebody's hair color. If you ask Sage to start keeping track of that, you'll give those guys a heart attack because the amount of dealing with old data and old code that knows to look at it, doesn't know to look at it, everything gets changed. If you're in a NoSQL database, you can just add it and everything keeps on working. So the malleability that you have there, you don't have anywhere else.
And it still works with like millions of.
Say what? Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So it's like under the hood, it's doing something similar like the Solar, like the full text search, like extremely indexing of everything.
Oh yeah, it's doing a lot of indexing. I mean, the thing you have to realize is that this world is much more immature. And so you'll have the kind of robustness you have out of NoSQL or Postgres that you just run it and it just work forever and ever and never crash. You won't get that here. But I think it's a really cool idea for any of you who have a need once in a while to try to use Mongo instead of MySQL to just get a feel for it. It's a whole different way of thinking. And as you can see, this is not a Rails app. You could write a 20-line Ruby program that has to store a lot of things, and you can do it with Mongo or with Java or with Python. Okay, see you later. Okay, good. All right, that's all I got. The stuff is up on GitHub. There's actually a page on my website with the links that I did here if you want it. I think next week we have off. The week after, everybody's working on finals, so I think this is the last one for the semester, but we'll start again next year. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's all right. Really, it wasn't that deserving. But I had fun. I mean, I had fun because I really, you know, I had to sort of prepare these demos and test the programs and really get a feel for some of the nitty gritty. And it's really cool. What language are you programming? Python?
Python, Java.
Yeah, yeah. And did you find a library for MongoDB?
I was just playing around in Ruby.
Oh, you were playing
I was
around
having
Ruby?
path issues.
Yeah, but you didn't examine it to see what it was like.
Not much, no.
Yeah. Were you doing any coding or were you just watching?
I was just running it in the terminal.
Okay, gotcha.
Manually.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. All set. Thanks a lot. And we'll do it again next year.
So don't deal with objects, basically, right? You just deal with assets and just like try to access some keys, and if they're not there, then
Well, I think in a real program, you would build a facade in front of the hashes, because otherwise you'd have error handling code all over your program. If you create a class that represents a movie and has proper defaulting if that particular key is not in the hash, you know, the rest of your code does not have to be aware of that. But it's, you know, it depends on how
but then you end up with building classes with there is 2012.
right, exactly. And so then it's one of these things that, you know, if you have it, if you're using it only in a few, but then maybe you access it with like a hash, but it's not just a hash. You can give it a hash. You can override the bracket operator, for example, and make that operate like a hash, but put more sophisticated error checking behind it. That's one trick you can use.
I mean, like coming from strongly typed
Yeah.
languages like Java
Yeah.
and being a TA in databases in SQL in
Yeah.
Germany.
This is like loosey-goosey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of loose ground.
Yeah.
Like, so first was it all your Ruby stuff without like any time checking.
And now this.
Yeah, now this. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
It was fun.
I know, it's
All
true.
the structure is gone.
Yeah.
You don't have nothing.
But you have amazing flexibility.
Sure. Like even in our project, we are like Evan really likes this flexible stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Version 11.
Very cool for teachers. It's not, I think it's not that useful if you're actually